Well, welcome to the Christy Jones Show, where it's all about living your life to the fullest. I'm a life coach, speaker, and business owner in multifamily real estate, and I've had wild success in multifamily housing for over 25 years now. I am so passionate about helping others merge their success and lead a fulfilling life, and I bring it all together right here on this podcast. So join me and let's get started to live your life to the fullest. Well, hey, my friend, welcome back. This is episode 100. I am going into year 3 of the Christy Jones Show, all the things to live your life to the fullest. And I can't believe that I'm saying episode 100. I've shown up every single week. You got to stay consistent at anything that you do. And I have applied to that same mentality I've taken to other areas of my life. I brought to the podcast when I started it, and not surprising, but consistency matters, and it's really a difference maker in how something grows and the progress that you make, and all that you learn in the process as well. So I'm just really excited to say going into year 3, and it's been a blast. So thanks for hanging out here with me each and every week. New episode drops every Thursday. All right, so here is what's going down today for episode 100. I'm going to talk about how high performers decide faster. As you know, I'm a high performance coach. I also do public speaking, and I want to talk about this really micro topic because I really believe that high performers, there's such a difference maker with people, of ones that can make decisions quickly and confidently, and those that don't. So I'm going to share with you today some things on how you can trust yourself to decide, how when you decide, how it builds momentum, it moves you forward. And if you are that person that really, you're like, I'm an overthinker, I don't decide fast, I whiffle waffle around, and I procrastinate on different decisions, I want to tell you what that's costing you, and then give you some really easy, practical tools of what you can do instead, so you become a more efficient decision maker. So let's get into it. I'm excited to talk about this today. So here's the thing. Like I said, the speed of decision making is really what sets people apart. It's just a trait that comes along with, high performance. If you're a go-getter, like you're getting stuff done, you're making decisions. And you also know that sometimes those decisions, you have to tweak it as you go. You have to course correct. You have to decide again. But the thing is you actually get more clarity when you make a decision. So not to say that you make a decision and you're batting, like every single one is spot on. I don't know a single person that's going to sit here and tell you that's the case. What I can tell you, and I know this from experience too, is that the ability to make decisions and do not hem-haw around and overthink every little thing is a complete difference maker of the progress that you make in your life and in your business. So it's really a technique and a trait and a characteristic that you want to develop within yourself if you really want to be all you can be and get that full potential out of yourself. So I find this to be a really important topic to talk about, to nail down, and to practice over and over and over. So, like I said, high achievers, they know that decision making and taking action is what gives and creates clarity. And so I'm going to break that down for you today a little bit, and really just, I'm going to have 3 main talking points. So this is going to be very digestible. You're going to take this and you'll be like, ooh, Christy, that is so good. I'm putting this to work now. And I want you to. That's why I try to I always want to bring you things that you can listen, take in, and then I don't want you here just to listen and, hang out just for the heck of it. I mean, that's fine if you do, but my hope is that I'm all about taking action. So what we take in and what we learn, like that's cool. Like we can all be like, oh yeah, I read this, I read that book, I took this class and or I have this credential, that degree. That's all good for you. Great. Okay. But what are we doing with it? You know what I'm saying? Like we got it like it's where the rubber meets the road. It's like where the tire is on the pavement. Like it's what you do. So this is all about putting into action. So decision making, hands down, is one of the most important skills you need to get really comfortable with, very fluent at, like, just it flows in your life and in your work life and in your home life, and that you build your confidence there and really trust yourself to make decisions and to make good decisions. And not to say, like I said, there'll be some decisions that you're like, I need to course correct that. I need to adjust that. I need to tweak that a little bit. But you wouldn't have known that. You wouldn't have got that clarity if you wouldn't have made the initial decision. So being in limbo land and overthinking, like we're not here for that. Like we're just not going to hang out there because you're going to get nowhere fast. And also in what I learned is that high achievers have a really high propensity to be the really heavy overthinkers. They're overthinking everything too much. And so when I had first started like researching this a few years back, I thought that it wouldn't be as common, but it's actually a very common trait with very ambitious professionals. So know that it is really common to overthink it and overthink it, and then you're not making a decision because you just keep ruminating all the facts, all the figures, all the things, when in reality, a decision needs to be made so action can be taken, so we can have more clarity, so you can have more clarity, and you can make the progress that you're wanting to make. All right. Okay, so here we go. I want to talk about three key points that I want you to put in your toolbox, your toolkit for life that I talk about all the time. And so you can make faster decisions, more confident decisions. And this will apply if for you yourself, especially if you're an entrepreneur or you're a business owner, if you are work somewhere and you're in charge of anything or anyone, or if you're just in charge of yourself, like this is something that can make yourself, your life, and just so much more productive and efficient. And you're going to feel so much better. So decision making is really a skill that to show up as your best, you need to like really dial this in. Okay. All right. So the first thing I want to talk about is let's talk about the cost of indecision. So what is it costing you to not make a decision? What is it costing you to just be spinning the wheels? What is it costing you for 3 weeks to be reanalyzing the data when you really needed to make a decision like 4 days ago? The clock's ticking. You need to make a decision. Like at some point, regardless of what is on the table to be decided, at some point, you have to say, I have enough data. I have enough data. And most times you have enough information. You have enough data. You're just scared to make the decision because you don't want to make the wrong decision. I get that. But realize every day that you're not making a decision is costing you something. And like I said earlier, decision making and actually action on that is what gives you clarity. It gives you clarity. So sometimes, and I've been there, like, especially in business, like there's things that you're like, I'm not quite sure what the right to go left or go right at this crossroads. And you've analyzed the data and you've looked it over, you've looked at the numbers. It's kind of like either one might work. Well, make a decision and go with it and see what happens. And here's the thing, if you need to make an adjustment, you can on most things. I mean, there are exceptions out there. But on the majority of things, we're just procrastinating on making a decision. What if we just would make a decision? We're making progress from the moment we make a decision. And the next thing, B, is that if you've got people on your team or people are looking to you for leadership to make a decision, to give some direction, nothing is worse than having the leader, the person in charge, it could be a manager, whatever. I don't really care what the title is. But if you're that person within your organization and people are looking to you for an example, then your flip-flop, wishy-washy inability to make a decision is not helping them. They need an example of someone that's going to step up and make a decision and move things forward. All right. And realizing that as you make a decision, you're getting information, you're getting more clarity. You have the ability to then make another decision that is going to, if you're like, oh, that isn't exactly, didn't hit that's not going where I wanted to go. So fix the decision, make a different decision. And so it's that, it's that overthinking that can cost us so much even in our personal lives. We overthink things to death, right? And it's costing us time, energy, it costs you momentum. Like, seriously, can you not have mental fatigue from just that stuck indecision space that you've been hanging out in? I started this conversation off talking about business and in your work or your own personal business. If you're an entrepreneur, a business owner, but even in your personal life, like if you're not making decisions on something that you're just putting off, like you got the mental fatigue from being in that stuck spot. So make a decision, and you will get clarity from that. You will get clarity from that. So realize that there is a cost for indecision. There is a cost for the procrastination. And the draining and the fatigue, that's a cost. There can be like money cost involved, but there's also like there's that energy fatigue. It creates stress. Like if there's something that you need to be deciding on at work, and it might be, staffing decisions. It might be you have to move some people around to get the right synergy on the team. I mean, you're delaying the decisions causes stress. And so you're just carrying that day after day after day. When the alternative is you could be making a decision, and then the progress, the movement, the momentum begins. And also, high performers, they don't sit and agonize for days over choices. They make a call and then they adjust as needed. You make a call, you make a decision, and then you adjust as needed. I'm thinking about what came to mind. I want to share a real life example because I like to do that and not just talk, like in, I don't know, all this lingo at the time. I like to, if an example comes up in my mind of something very specific, I love to dish that out here on the podcast. And what just came to mind is, that high performers not agonizing over choices, and they make a call and then they adjust as needed. I was just thinking about when I was running, property management, and if you know, have been in multifamily housing for like 27 years, and back in the days when I was running, day-to-day operations, running even going way way back as a property manager. The first time I was in charge of a property, understanding the vacant, we call it an availability list. So you've got basically a list of your apartments and everything that's vacant. You can clearly see that. And every day, and I always like this stuck with me. Every day that apartment sits vacant, it was like cash blowing out the window. And you can never, like, when that day is done, you can never reclaim that money. Like every day, I'd always look at my vacant list, and I've taught all my managers to do this too, to really understand like how much money, if we don't lease these apartments ASAP, how much money is just flying out the window every single day. And so when you add up, if you have, hopefully you don't have, but when you take over sometimes distressed properties, there's a lot of vacants. A lot of times when you take on new properties, they're not giving you the new property because it's just performing so great. You're taking over something to improve it, to make more money for the stakeholders, for the owner. And then now I really understand that as I went into ownership of multifamily housing. But even then, being on just the property management side, understanding, and this was taught to me. So and I took it. So it was taught to me like every day that apartment sits vacant, you can never get that money back. Like it is gone. So I would take my list and I would add up like, if I had just the rent rate, and I would take the monthly rent, divide it by 30, even if it's 31 days. I just did 30 days. Divided by 30 just to get so I could get a rough number. And then I calculated up every vacant that I had, what that was costing me for each and every day. And then I shared that with my team. I was like, hey, our community is losing this amount of money on a daily basis. So it just created such a sense of urgency to fill up those apartments. So where I'm going with this is not agonizing over choices and then making a decision and adjusting as needed. So we would come up with, some sort of, whether it would be a marketing angle or we would try something. I mean, you know what I'm saying? You're trying in all these different things to increase your traffic, to increase your phone calls so you can get more walk-ins, so you can have a higher conversion rate. And you try something. Here's what I decided. We're just going to decide, like maybe you have five things. We're just going to decide. I would make a decision. Let's try this. I would, love to get everyone's input on it, to hear their different ideas, but I would just make a decision and then we would go. Like I knew other people in the industry that like 3 weeks later, they were still mulling over what move-in special they might offer, or how they might do a promotion, or what. I was like, what? Like, why is this taking 3 weeks to figure out? Like, I just didn't know. I just felt like we need to make a decision and we need to implement. And then if it's not working or we're not getting the traction that we want, the phone calls, the walk-ins, and it's not generating enough traffic for us, we're going to try the next one. In fact, why don't we just try these two at the same time and see which one gives us more? So my point is that don't agonize over the choice so much. Like make a decision and then make a call, make a decision, and then adjust as needed. So that story with the vacant apartments, I would make a decision. I'd get the team on board, we would implement, we would go, and it either brought us the traffic that we were hoping for, or it didn't, or it was somewhere in the middle. But my point is that you just can't sit around and ponder this forever because it's costing you too much. So what it was costing us is whatever that number was for the vacancies of what we were losing per day. And I just literally visualized like hundreds of dollar bills, like floating out the window. I don't know why that was my visual, but literally, I would just, in my mind, I would see $100 bills just like swooping off my desk and out the window, and like understanding that that is leaving here every day that we don't fill up these apartments. And I mean, I just explained it to my team and really like exactly like that. I mean, it's pretty easy to understand, like this is the cash and it's like in the wind and we're never going to see that again. We've got to figure out how to stop the hundreds of dollar bills from blowing out the window. We've got to figure out how to stop that. And so I always felt like we needed to make a decision of either maybe the one of those choices, or I would pick two of them and then we would implement, and then we would, worst thing you could do is just a week later, you adjust and you come up with the next best idea, or you tweak it just a little bit, or you take parts of it that are working. My point is that there were other people that 3 weeks later, when I would, be talking with other people in other locations, they were still like, our boss told us to come up with some ideas. And I didn't understand like how 3 weeks later you could still be just coming up, like just thinking about the ideas. I was like, oh, we've already tried, we're already into our third option and we're seeing how this one does. So my point is make a call. Your team wants you to make a call. Your team wants the direction. They don't like the wishy-washy is not helping them. So be confident in your decisions, make a decision, and then adjust as you need to. All right. Can you tell I get really passionate about that? I don't know. I just really get passionate about that. I love that. Um, there's just so much cost in not making a decision. And I don't think that we think of that enough. So we always think about, oh, what if I make the wrong decision? Well, the cost of you not making a decision is pretty dang expensive. So consider that. Number two, my second point is I call it's an 80% rule, and it's just a little way to make faster decisions. And this is really good if you are a prolific overthinker. And that is, you don't have to have 100% certainty to make a decision. If I always thought like, if I can land at like 80%, like 80% of me feels good that this is the right decision, this is the decision to go with, then that's enough. And because very few things in life are a complete 100%. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, think about it. So if we're going to wait until everything is a 100% certainty, we're probably going to be waiting a while. And so an 80% rule is a really good thing to implement. And your action, when you do the 80%, you're not hanging out waiting for 100% all the time. You're going to have more momentum. The key thing here is to make decisions and to build momentum. And action breeds clarity. I already said that when we started, but I got to hit it home once again, because we learn faster when we're moving forward. We learn faster when we're moving forward. So that action is going to breed more clarity. So think about an 80% rule for making faster decisions. And another thing, I'm going to segue this into point number 3, but another way to simplify your decision-making strategy and how to make faster decisions and not get into this like overthinking spin cycle, which, like I said, can really be costly in many ways, is to set a time limit. Set a time limit for your decisions. So let's say it's a small decision, and when you get in this kind of stuck indecisive mode, you can start getting very indecisive on big things and little things. Like, it's crazy. It's like small little decisions that you need to make in your day-to-day life, or, things that are waiting for you on your desk or in your inbox. That you can make those all of a sudden become like huge. You're just like, I don't know, I'm just gonna, and you just put it off till tomorrow. So let's set a time limit. And for small decisions, like a couple minutes, 60 seconds, 1 to 2 minutes, like make a decision. It could be like an email in your inbox. Yes, you could wait and put that off until tomorrow to reply to, but take a minute or two and shoot the reply back to them. Clean out some of that clutter in your inbox. So easy, simple, decisions, take action. You know, give yourself like 2 minutes to make these small decisions. I mean, it can be all kinds of small decisions, like a bunch. If you have a lot of small decisions to make, you can like they start to build up, and then you can easily feel like overwhelmed, like I don't even want to deal with this right now. So you do something to distract yourself, or you do very busy work that's very technically unproductive, and it's really not moving the needle and getting you closer to your goal. So set a time limit. And then for bigger decisions, you know, sometimes you got to sleep on it. Give yourself 24 hours. Give yourself some time. And if you're just struggling with something, especially I've done this, like anything that's going to be very impactful for another individual, I generally I'm going to sleep on that, and I'm going to test out how I feel about it the next day, relook at the information that I have, and then make a decision. So it's for bigger decisions. And for me, it's always been like, if this is going to impact another individual for sure, I'm definitely going to I'm going to sleep on it. And so I'm not making any quick decision on something that could have, longer lasting effects. Another thing that I would suggest is ask yourself, is this decision going to matter in 5 minutes? Is this decision going to matter in 5 days? Is this decision going to matter in 5 months? And if you can kind of reframe whatever it is that you're, having to decide upon, if you can reframe it like that, that helps give you some perspective to let you know, like, am I overthinking this? Does this require me maybe to sleep on it and, really take in some more information, make sure I've got all the facts and make the best decision possible? Or am I just like kind of in that spin cycle and just procrastinating on all the things right now? So movement and decision making gives you clarity. So never forget that. And then the last strategy I want to give you on how to make decisions faster is ask yourself, what would my future self choose to do? And if you follow the podcast, several episodes ago, had talked about showing up as your future self right now. Like regardless, it was a whole different, it wasn't on decision making, but in that podcast, I had talked about how you showing up now as your future self, that is how you create the life that you want. It doesn't matter what your circumstances are. It doesn't matter what evidence is throwing back at you, what the world's, reflecting back to you, what your exact circumstances look like at the moment. But you need to be showing up and thinking and have the habits and also the actions of the future version of yourself. And so this ties right into that. That you have to ask yourself, what would my future self choose in this situation? And that is so powerful and will give you so much clarity on, especially a lot of the big decisions that you need to make in your life. Because your future self, let's just, as an example, and again, your future self is that next level mindset that you're already that person and that reality that you are wanting to create and co-create in your life and in your business. If you approach the situation as if you are already in that future space, you're going to get an entirely different answer. Your decision making may look very different. You're going to be making decisions with much more confidence, with much more decisive action and clarity. So ask yourself, what would my future self choose in this situation? And that is an excellent strategy to make decisions faster. And many times you will pause, ask yourself that question, and then it's like no hesitation, you already know. So that is another way to really simplify the decision-making process. So I want to ask you today, as we wrap up, I want to ask you if you have been overthinking, what overthinking as a habit, like if that's just kind of been, you've fallen into that habit and that way of living. What is one decision that you could make within 24 hours of listening to this episode that would allow you to move forward with confidence? What is one decision that you've been putting on the back burner? You've been overthinking. You've been, overwhelmed every time it, comes across your plate, every time, it comes to the forefront of your mind. That one thing that you're overthinking, that you keep putting off, what is it that you could decide on in the next 24 hours and move forward with confidence that would help you build that momentum? I want you to think of what that is for you. Just come up with one thing. And I challenge you to hold yourself accountable to that. Make a decision. Make it apply, go through this 3-point checklist that I just gave you. Make a decision, and I know you are going to feel relieved because you did the dang thing. You made the decision. And you're building momentum. You will already feel that energy, that momentum propel you forward. So that's going to then set the stage for the next one. But you've got to get past. It's that first one sometimes is hard, especially if we've fallen into some bad habits. So realize that what I've talked about today is really common with high achievers because they want to get everything right. They want that 100%. So go back to that point number 2 when I talked about the 80% rule and really bring in these tactical mindset shifts that you can implement in your day-to-day life that's going to get you that much further down the road. That's going to get you to step in to that top performance that you're capable of. That sometimes we just fall in some bad habits. We just got to be reminded. And that might be you right now. And I know you're going to take this and you're going to decide on something within the next 24 hours and you're going to put it into play. You're going to make a decision. You're going to feel that instant shift of momentum in your life. All right, my friend, I'm going to wrap this up for today. I'm so glad you're here for episode 100. It's been a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to year 3. Also, as you know, let me drop a quick reminder that this is going to publish the first week of March. So at the end of March, my doors will be opening to my exclusive membership group, the Flourishing Edge Inner Circle. I will have a link down below. You can get much more of things just like this at a much deeper level within that membership group. And it is a month-to-month membership that you can cancel whenever. If it's not serving you anymore, then, you can move on to the next thing. If it is serving you, or you can already sign up for a whole year and there's significant discounts when you do that. So, and I also offer the Flourishing Edge one-on-one, and that's deeply personal, very specific, and we cover the things that are specific and unique to you and helping you reach your goals in your life and in your business. So I will drop a link to that as well. But those are 2 different things, 2 different ways to work with me. But I am reopening the doors to the membership group, and we will hit the ground running April 1st. All right, until then, I will see you guys next week. Take care, make decisions. No more procrastinating. Make decisions, and let's go. I want to thank you for tuning in today to the podcast, and I hope you've enjoyed the conversation and all the info that's been shared today. And I hope you've come away with a few ideas on how to make the most out of it for your life. If you loved this episode, be sure to share it with your friends and family. And also make sure you subscribe to the podcast and tap that subscribe button so you never miss an episode. Also, it would mean the absolute world to me if you would leave a podcast review. So until next time, my friend, keep flourishing and thriving and live your life to the